things do you need in your back pocket to be able to whip out acting, to be an actor? To me, there's 4 main components. There's voice, there's physicality, there's emotion, and there's character development. We're going to talk at a baseline level today, the basics of what you can do to develop those things, and I'm going to give you a practical exercise for each of those 4 categories to work on developing those skills. Hi, I'm Emery. I'm a theater acting teacher, educator, choreographer, actor, all the things, and I'm here to help grow you as an actor and a creator. So let's get into it. When we are on stage, you are very likely going to be speaking, which means that we need to start with voice. And starting with voice means we need to start with breathing. All your support comes from your breath. If you are not breathing, you're not going to be able to project or alter your voice in any way. So always ensure that you are breathing through your acting projects. Practice breathing. I know it sounds the silliest to say, but it is the baseline thing that will help you. I'm hoping to have someone come on the channel in the new year and do a whole episode on different breathing techniques for actors and singers and performers, so stay tuned for that. So, breath control, breathing deep, making sure that we are performing from a supported place. Then there's different ways we can modulate our voice dependent on the character we're performing. I always teach my students that there are 6 main ways that you can change your voice. You can pitch it up or down. So those are your first 2 choices. So I can take my voice higher if a character calls for it, or I can sit in my chest voice and really take it lower if a voice calls for it, if a character calls for it. So you can pitch up or down, head voice or chest voice. You can go louder or quieter. Reminder, if you're doing quieter, you still need to be doing enough projection for the audience to hear it. So it is stage quieter, not actually quieter. But if I'm a big boisterous character, maybe everything I'm doing is very loud and excited, as opposed to maybe someone who's shy and reserved and is sitting more on the quieter end. So you can change volume on the scale of loud to soft. And you can change speed. If you are a highly anxious or highly excitable character, maybe you're talking really fast. Maybe all your lines come out with a huge energy and you're just spitting through them as fast as possible. Or maybe you are a very serious or an older character and your lines take a bit more time. You're not Shatnering. We're not pausing for effect. See the difference? It's just a thought process that is a little slowly rolling out, okay? So, pitch up, pitch down, faster, slower, louder, quieter, and then start mixing and matching those things. So you can be loud but fast, or you can be slow and loud, or you can be high-pitched and fast, or high-pitched and quiet. Whatever combination of these things you are using to develop a character voice, and we'll come back to this later on, but like you need to make sure it's appropriate for the character first of all, and is always true to the show you're doing. But these are just some ways you can kind of play around with using your vocal tools to create character. The other thing that's important, because in all of those I had good diction or enunciation. We are making sure that we are pronouncing our words properly. We have to almost over-enunciate on stage in order for the audience to pick up what we are saying. The audience is hearing this for the first time. We're hearing it for the 1,000th. So if we mumble through a line, we know what we said, but they might miss a key part of the story. So diction and enunciation is hugely important. A good way to practice this is just going through lines, a song, a moment, a poem, pick up a book, pick up a magazine, and just read it like this. Over-enunciate and open your mouth through every word and practice moving your mouth like that in an over-exaggerated way that you would never do on stage. Okay, key point there. But just get your mouth used to moving in that direction and get it used to the feeling of kind of chewing on the words, enunciating them well, and then you can dial it back and be in a better place with your diction. So my practical exercises for vocal work are always breathing exercises, whether that's box breathing, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4, or deep breathing. So it's in for 4, hold for 8, exhale for 8. You can find so many different breathing exercises, but anytime before I'm going to rehearsal, I'm doing a breathing exercise and I'm doing a vocal warm-up, even if I'm not singing, even if I'm just speaking. I even do them before I come here and speak to you on YouTube. So you can find tons of apps or tons of videos on YouTube that have base level vocal exercises, but things like humming, diction exercises, tongue twisters, tongue stretches, these are all things that like warm up this area of our body that we often forget about. So things to practice: your diction, your breathing, and do a vocal warm up before you come on and perform or practice. Okay? So that is our vocal part of our toolbox. That is what we are bringing as an offer, as an actor. We've got this locked in. Next, we look at our body. I've done a whole episode on using physicality in acting. If you want to check that out, I'll link it here. In the same way that we use our voice, we use our body to communicate a character's mood or intention. If you are just standing on stage as yourself and not embodying the character, you're not fully developing it in a way that you could. And so in the same way that I gave you options for voice, we can look at options for movement. Do you move fast or slow? So are you zipping around the stage like a chihuahua, or are you kind of lumbering around? Are you really weighted down and heavy with your energy? Or are you super light and bouncy with your energy? Those are different physical feelings, different physical movements that you can implement. So things that affects are like walking, obviously, walking, posture, how you're physically standing on the stage. Like you wouldn't stand in a period piece like chilling off to the side, but in Mean Girls, that would be totally fine. And your mannerisms. Do you speak with your hands? Are they clenched all the time? So those are all physical aspects that you have to consider when building a character body. Then there's the concept of physicality on the stage in terms of physical distancing and spacing between you and other actors. So that'll come down to your directors and yours blocking, but it's things to think about, like who has the power on the stage, or if you get up really close to someone. Everybody's really inclined to do that in a fight, be like face to face, but there's actually not a lot of power in that situation. So you kind of want to reserve that face to face moment for like a really important moment in the show and use some space to show power or who's winning or who's not in an argument or a moment. So think about your physical presence on the stage. Where is it? How does that affect what your character's doing or their intention? So your practical exercise for your physicality is two things. One, stretch before every rehearsal or show. You should be coming into the space physically warmed. Okay, so run yourself through a basic stretch list, A, so you don't get hurt, and B, so you're feeling very in your body and ready to create. And a good practice exercise after you've stretched, and this can be done in your own home so you don't feel ridiculous in front of people at rehearsal, is something I call altered walking. And that is when you just walk around your space, just walk around your house and just start changing one or two things about the way you're walking. And then always kind of come back to your neutral walk after, but maybe just change that you're walking faster and then come back to neutral. And then change that you're walking heavier and then come back to neutral. And then see if you can do 2 in 1. See if you can do a slower walk, but very light and bouncy, and see how that changes. Do any of those feel at home in your character body? Or any of them working for you? Then you can start to alter things like you could walk around with your chest out more, or you could walk around with your head down. How does that affect what your character's feeling or representing? So you're just changing 1 or 2 things about the physical way that you're walking and trying them on. How do they feel for your character? And it's a concept of play. So that's your exercise to practice for physicality. Let's talk about emotions or emotional range. There is a number of specific acting techniques that can get you here. I'm not going to go into all of them on here. That's a whole separate video for another time. But what you need to ensure you're doing is allowing yourself to be vulnerable, which is a very terrifying thing to do in front of groups of people or audiences. You will not have success if you keep your walls up, if you fake the emotion, or if you imply that you're sad instead of actually feeling sad. And so in order to actually have emotional change and growth in shows, you need to be vulnerable enough to show it. And this gives a great gift to your acting partners as well, because it means you're entirely present and in the moment with them and being willing to feel. And that's letting your guards down, that's letting your protection down, and it's a very raw space to be in. And I would hope that your directors and your teams have created safe spaces for you to play and explore in. But I would wish that if you were working on emotional change or emotional availability, that you are open to being vulnerable and actually feeling the things that your character is feeling and letting that guide you instead of deciding what your character is feeling and acting that out. Does that make sense? And to do this, you need to do some script work and you need to understand where your character's emotional shifts and beats are, where they change from being angry in a scene to being devastated, or where they change from being happy to feeling guilty. You have to know those moments and then figure out how to get from point A to point B, what's getting them there, why do they feel that way? And then be open and vulnerable to actually feel that way. Your first step is identifying the emotions that are written in for you and then letting yourself be open to play them. So my practical exercise for this one is playing a bit on emotional recall. That is a technique that takes a time in your life where you felt something and you try to reflect that back into your acting. This is not useful in all circumstances, but this is just play and starting to piece together what that means. So I'm going to give you a line. The line is, I told you I couldn't do it. Or I told you I could do it. One or the two. You can make it negative or positive. And I want you to just recall a time in your life that you felt a strong emotion. Be it joy, be it sadness, be it fear, be it anger. And I just want you to sit in that moment for a second and then say that line. And so the difference being, I'm not going to be like, I'm going to say it angry. I told you I couldn't do it, and just yelling it. That's fake anger, fake emotion. There was nothing vulnerable about that. There was nothing open and like me actually giving my feelings about that. So I'm going to sit in it for a sec and I'm going to think of a moment that I was actually feeling anger and frustration, and I'm going to then say it with that energy. And it's just practice taking an emotion, reapplying it, and saying the line. So that's your homework for that one. And last but not least, character development. I saved this one for last because it is useless to do this work if you don't apply the other ones on top of it. So if you're not going to use your voice, use your body, and use your emotions to create a character, then what's the point? So when we talk about character development, we are looking at our scripts and we are seeing what the character needs of us. You can create a backstory. Where's this character coming from before they even stand on the stage? If you check in the description below, I've linked a character backstory worksheet. I've done a whole episode on this as well that I will share. You can absolutely go practice, fill that out for your character. Here's the thing though. Do not stop there. This is not a check mark, I did a character backstory, and then leave it all. You need to use those moments to drive your character's emotions, what we just talked about. You need to go through the script and figure out what drives your character, what they want, what's their motivation. In every scene, in every moment, what do they want? What's their motivation? And then use that backstory and those objectives to build out a fully fleshed character. In doing so, you've kind of completed the trifecta. What's the fourfecta? The fourfecta. So we've got voice, body, emotion, character development. The actor toolbox. So your practical tip is to go download that worksheet and practice. And if you're not doing a show right now, pick a character from a television show or a movie. Write a backstory for them. Use the given knowledge that you have from the script or the show, and then fill in the blanks using your creativity and imagination. Or go grab a script, read it, pick a character, and figure out how you would develop it. What's guiding them? What are they scared of? What do they want in life? What do they want in the play? What do they want in this scene? What do they want in this moment? Ask yourself those questions. We're going to have next month, we're going to have an entire script work episode coming out about how I pick up a raw script and develop it full out, because I'm going to be doing that for a show I'm in. So I will share my process with you and hope that it helps. This has been fun. I hope that was helpful. 4 things to have in your actor toolbox. I'm here every week doing acting advice, and every second week for musical theater choreography if you want to play, if you want to practice your dance moves before the dance call. I would love to have you as part of my community. Thank you so much, and I will see you soon. Bye.